Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome into today's daily Bible reading for April the 19th. Today we are reading together in Numbers chapter 13, getting into some action here as we prepare to enter the promised land with the Israelites. Or do we prepare to enter the promised land with the Israelites? We shall begin to see that unfortunately there is going to be some trouble for the people, and we see that rearing its head here in chapter 13, although we've already seen some proverbial chinks in the armor of the people. We've seen some faults in their foundation of faith, that they've been a complaining people, whether that be from the outside of the camp all the way to the inside of the camp. There's just a lot of unfortunate unfaithfulness here. We see that from the people, again, from the riffraff to the regular folks, to even the leaders, the priest and the prophetess last chapter in chapter 12. Here we see there are some leaders who show themselves to lack faith. We'll discuss that here in chapter 13. So let me get the text up on the screen for us, read through the text, and have a few comments for us to think about. Here in Numbers 13, verse number 1, Yahweh spoke to Moses, "Send men to scout out the land of Canaan I am giving to the Israelites. Send one man who is a leader among them from each of their ancestral tribes." Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran at Yahweh's command. All the men were leaders in Israel. These were their names. There was Shemua, son of Zakur, from the tribe of Reuben; Shaphat, son of Hori, from the tribe of Simeon; Caleb, son of Jephunneh, from the tribe of Judah; Igal, son of Joseph, from the tribe of Issachar; Hoshea, son of Nun, from the tribe of Ephraim; Palti, son of Raphu, from the tribe of Benjamin; Gadiel, son of Sodi, from the tribe of Zebulun; Gadi, son of Suzi, from the tribe of Manasseh, from the tribe of Joseph; Amiel, son of Gemali, from the tribe of Dan; Sethur, son of Mishael, from the tribe of Asher; Nabi, son of Vophsi, from the tribe of Naphtali; and finally Guel, son of Maki, from the tribe of Gad. These were the names of the men Moses sent to scout out the land, and Moses renamed Hoshea, son of Nun, Joshua. When Moses sent them to scout out the land of Canaan, he told them, "Go up this way to the Negev, and then go up into the hill country, see what the land is like, and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. Is the land they live in good or bad? Are the cities they live in encampments or fortifications? Is the land fertile or unproductive? Are there trees in it or not? Be courageous. Bring back some of the fruit from the land." Here's a historical note from the author. It was the season for the first ripe grapes. Verse 21, so they went up and scouted out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near the entrance to Hamath. They went up through the Negev and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shashai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were living. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. When they came to the Eshcol Valley, they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, which was carried on a pole by 2 men. They also took some pomegranates and figs. And that place was called Eshcol, or it was called Eshcol Valley, because the cluster of grapes the Israelites cut there. At the end of the 40 days, they returned from scouting out the land. The men went back to Moses, Aaron, and the entire Israelite community in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back a report for them and the whole community, and they showed them the fruit of the land. They reported to Moses, "We went into the land where you sent us. Indeed, it is flowing with milk and honey, and here is some of its fruit. However, the people living in the land are strong, and the cities are large and fortified. We also saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites are living in the land of the Negev. The Hethites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live by the sea along the Jordan." Then Caleb quieted the people in the presence of Moses, and said, let's go up and take possession of the land because we can certainly conquer it. But the men who had gone up with him responded, we can't attack the people because they're stronger than we are. So they gave a negative report to the Israelites about the land they had scouted. The land we passed through to explore is one that devours its inhabitants. And all the people we saw in it are men of great size. We even saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. To ourselves we seem like grasshoppers, and we must have seemed the same to them. And that is Numbers chapter 13. So we're left here at the end with a cliffhanger. Well, who is going to prevail? Who is going to have the greater influence upon the people? Those, the majority who doubted the Israelites' ability to go in and take the land, or Caleb, and we'll come to recognize Joshua, who had confidence in Yahweh. So back to the beginning of the chapter, Yahweh tells Moses to send some men who can scout out the land. I know a lot of translations say spies, but the idea really is to scout out. I don't really know how well a large group of 12 men would be able to spy out a lot of what was going on in the land. They're scouting. They're just checking out, seeing what everything's like, taking reports, just as Moses said, see how the cities are. Are they encampments, meaning are they accessible? Are they easily accessible, or are they fortifications? Keep in mind something like Jericho. What's the land like? Are there trees? Does it look like it's fertile? All these questions just to kind of get a good idea about what they're dealing with. Now, the men who are selected are leaders among each of the ancestral tribes, but they're not the leaders that were mentioned previously. Going back to the beginning of the chapter, remember that or the beginning of the book, remember this writing. This book is called Numbers because there is a great census at the beginning. It is a military census, letting them know how many fighting men they have to be able to go and to do fighting to conquer this land. The leaders who are mentioned in chapter 2 are not the same leaders that are mentioned here in chapter 13. Why is that? Well, probably because those leaders that I mentioned in chapter 2 are probably older. These leaders are probably younger men who would have an easier time going on this long journey. We come to find out that this was a 40-day journey. And if you map out kind of where they went, we're talking 250 miles one way, about a 500-mile round trip on these 40 days. Certainly not a trip that older men would be able to accomplish easily. So more than likely, these are younger men who would be able to go about this journey and accomplish it in an efficient way. Now, you might note in verse 22 that they talk about Hebron. This is a place that has a lot of associations with Abraham. Some promises were made to Abraham around this area. The cave where the bones are buried are here in this area. So as they lay eyes on this probably well spoken of, well known area where God had so many interactions with their father Abraham, you would think that this might be a place that would fill them with faith and fill them with confidence that they're in the place that was promised to Father Abraham so many hundreds of years previously. Man, we're here. Oh, we can taste it. It's right there for the taking. And yet as they go back, I want to note that once they get back, everybody's agreeing on the facts of what they saw on this journey. They all agree it's a great land. They even agree, that the people there look pretty strong. It's going to be a task in order to take the land. But their conclusions are very different. Again, 10 of these spies, they say, we can't do it. The cities are too large. The people are too big. They're everywhere. It's just not something we can do. But Caleb in verse 30 says, no, we can do this. We can conquer these people. And of course, he's thinking this because he understands that God would be with them in this conquering. But the 10 in verse 31 say, no, we can't do it. They're stronger than we are. It says they gave a negative report. Remember, this is the same word that is associated with what Joseph gave to Jacob concerning his brothers. Here in verse 32, the exaggerations really start. Remember, to begin with, they said, They live in strong cities. We saw, the descendants of Anak, very large people. Um, we it is something that has to be considered. This is not just going to be a pushover type of incursion into the land. But notice how they kind of seem to exaggerate beginning of verse 32. The land we pass through to explore is one that devours its inhabitants. And all the people we saw in it are men of great size. Were they really, though? Were all the men that big? We even saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. Did they, though? Did they really see Nephilim? Now, going back to Genesis 6, in that text, we know, or at least it's very logical for us to understand that in the days of Genesis 6, the Nephilim were there, the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Again, however you understand that to be, whoever you understand that to be. I've talked about what I think about that, but nonetheless, what's interesting in Genesis 6, though, is that it says in those days and afterward, Nephilim were on the earth. So maybe there's not exaggeration. Maybe they did see some Nephilim. At the very least, they understand that these people of Anak are descendants of the Nephilim, which that just opens up a whole can of worms of questions. Again, that's not something that I'll talk about right here, but if you have those questions, please feel free to leave those below, or we can talk about them in another setting. Nevertheless, their conclusion is, to ourselves, we seem like grasshoppers. Whenever we stood there and we saw these people, we saw their size and their might, we seemed like grasshoppers. And if they saw us, we probably seem like grasshoppers to them too. We can't do this. It's hopeless. So the question then at the end of chapter 13, and I almost wish I would have put chapters 13 and 14 together, but that would have been a really, really long read. So we're fine as we are. The question to look forward to tomorrow is to ask this question. Who are they going to listen to? Are they going to listen to the 10 who say we can't do this, it's hopeless? Or are they going to listen to the 2 who say, yes, we can. God has promised us this. God will be with us. We can take the land. That's a good question that we can ask ourselves just in our own lives. Who are we going to listen to? Are we going to listen to the detractors? Are we going to listen to the negative Nancys? Or are we going to listen to those who show confidence and faith in God being with us and strengthening us in everything that we might face in this life? It's a good question to ask. And I hope the answer that we will give is that we want to really give our attention to the encouragers, to those who have confidence in our God, and those who believe that we can and are victorious as we live with Christ. So who do we listen to? Do we listen to the detractors, or do we listen to the encouragers? That's a question each of us need to answer. I appreciate so much you tuning in for this reading on this Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Looking forward to being with everyone tonight for our Bible studies at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. We'll be back at it again tomorrow on April the 20th, reading together in Numbers chapter 14. Hope you'll tune back in then. Take care and God bless.